Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Vichar webinar series, an initiative of Federation of Indian Association Victoria. Vichar means thought, and that is exactly what this platform exists for. Every week we come together as a community to think, to question, and to learn. From finance to philosophy, from technology to tradition, from raising our children to caring for our parents across two countries. More than 50 webinars on. This series is powered by one simple belief that the knowledge our community needs already lives within our community. It just needs a stage. No fees, no barriers, no agenda. Just people who have walked the path, sharing what they have learned with people who are walking it now. So whether this is your first HR webinar or your 50th, thank you for choosing to spend this evening thinking with us. Your presence is what makes this community what it is. So I welcome our speaker, Chandramouli Suresh ji. It's my pleasure to introduce you tonight. Chandramouli Suresh has been practicing minimalism for over a decade, and he will be the first to tell you he did it the hard way. As the only minimalist in an otherwise normal household with two kids under 10. He shares his life experiences with nearly 20,000 followers on his Tamil YouTube channel, Life Unblocked, and more recently on his English channel, ZenRI. After 2 years of living in Australia and experiencing the world work-life balancing act this country demands, he created the ZenRI framework, a practical path from household chaos to clarity. Tonight, he shares that path with us. Please join me in welcoming Chandramouli Suresh. Over to you, Chandramouli ji. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suriji. Firstly, I want to start off by thanking Sham, who actually made this introduction to this wonderful community, and also to Suriji for giving me this opportunity to actually come and share my experiences in front of elders like you. And being in the presence of elders actually it kind of gives me that freedom to be myself and the freedom to actually share some of the experiences that I've had, as well as some of the over ambitious and over zealous attitudes that I had, uh, which actually led to the creation of ZenRI framework in the future, right? So I'm going to share my screen um, just to share how my movement from Australia, we migrated about a couple of years ago, from Singapore has been, and how that led to me thinking about a framework that will help migrants as well as people in their normal lives to embrace some of the uh, some of the challenges that they are facing on a daily basis. So I moved to, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I moved to Singapore uh, I moved from Singapore about 2 years ago. And by the time I was in Singapore itself, I was a minimalist for almost 6 years. So a minimalist is a person that chooses to have lesser number of things in and chooses his identity as somebody that focuses on lesser number of things rather than and to do more of the things that they love, right? So I thought that when I was in Singapore, I thought that I was a minimalist, and I had already figured out how to live a life as a minimalist. And I thought that with lesser number of items to focus on, my house is going to be really pristine, and it's going to be very well done. And it's going to be a breeze for me when I move to Australia. I can manage my entire house on my own using my minimalistic principles. And during my time there, COVID also happened, where we were forced to work from home, and uh, because of that, I also thought that I was really good at working from home, and like I could achieve. that magical levels of productivity when doing work from home. Now, all of this fell on its face when I came to Australia, because what I realized was that it wasn't about my discipline or my principles and being a minimalist and all of that. It was not. It was just my ego, but rather it was the environment of Singapore that actually helped me to be a minimalist. So what do I mean by that is Singapore is a very small country where living space is very less. And when you live in a condominium or when you live in a small apartment, then naturally you can own only so little things. So there were so less things to manage in the first place. And the second main difference was that when I was in Singapore, I had a helper. I had domestic help, and that helper was actually taking care of all the needs of the house. It wasn't me that was actually doing that. So when I came to Australia, both of these things actually affected me a lot. And, when my thought process when coming to Australia was, let me have this Australian dream, like let me have a big car, probably an SUV, and then let me have a big house. And, if I have spent 8 years in Singapore, and in Asia, we talk about how Asia's people are always hustling in their work. So let me bring that attitude to Australia, and I'll be the most productive person in my organization. But the reality was, when I got here to the ground in Australia, in Melbourne, I saw that except for food, everything was cheap, and I let my guard down. And when I let my guard down, I also let my family let their guard down and go shopping. And when they entered Kmart, by the time they came out of Kmart, we had so many things. But we were thinking, okay, we have a bigger house. So let's just, arrange it properly in our house. For example, books were almost like 3 times cheaper than Singapore. Clothes were half the price. So maximalism was disguised as a saving for us, and we fell into that trap. I'm sure all of you have also felt this in your lives as well. And the second reality was, of course, my take home pay became very much lesser because the taxman took a big share out of it. So when I realized that, I was getting much lesser take home pay in Australia, and I looked around my house, there was organized, it was pretty organized, like there was organized, but it was still very, very cluttered. And I had a full house to manage, and this time I had to do it without a helper. So what did I do? I decided that I'm not going to do this. Let me find help. And when I started to hire help, it was really expensive in this country, right? If like the minimum wage itself is around $25. So if I want to organize a person to come and clean my house, they would easily charge me around $200 to $50 per session. And even if I hired domestic help, within a couple of days, my house was back to the original clutter that it was, because we didn't have the systems to maintain the good work that the helpers had done. And the second one was in terms of working from home itself. I think this picture would represent not just me and my wife, but any young family with young children living in Australia and trying to manage and juggle the various tasks of running a family. There's never ending chores. You feel that, you can run your family with love and coffee, but end of the day, you have no energy left. You're pulled in all directions, and it's never ending. The school tasks, as well as your the amount of time that the kids want from you, and you don't have that village that you had in India who will actually help you to raise your kids here. So you need that when that social interactions are less, you have to compensate for that as a parent, and you have to be there for your children. But at the same time, you're in a new country, and you have to also prove yourself at work. And proving myself at work was quite easy in Singapore because I could just go and sit in my patio and I could knock off like 2, 3 hours of deep work where, uninterrupted, I could focus into many problems and go into that problem solving mode because my helper was making all the rice and curry that I wanted, and she was bringing all the paratas for me. But when I had to do work from home from Melbourne, actually I live in Croydon, which I think I will argue can be considered as regional Victoria. But for me to logistically go to office and come back was a 3-hour ordeal where I had to rush during the peak hour and come back before 3:30 when I picked my kids. And beyond that, I was also doubling up as the gardener, the cleaner. Sometimes I do the plumbing in the house, the director of small repairs, as I call it. And to the extent that sometimes you're even the toilet cleaner. And funny side story was I actually did a video on how toilet cleaning can improve your dopamine levels as well as it can teach you a lot of humility. So my entire work from home productivity was pretty gone for a toss. And obviously, it is rewarding to have a life where you're spending so much more time with your kids. But as rewarding as it was, it just wasn't sustainable for my wife and me because the house was always cluttered. There was always something for me to put away, something for us to clean. And like they say, miles to go before I sleep. I had bucket loads to clean before I went to sleep, and this was happening every single day. So I wanted to find a solution. And being a backbencher all through my college, I thought, let me find the laziest solutions possible. So I embraced techniques like running capsule wardrobe, which is basically having about 33 different clothing items and trying to run 3 months on these clothing items and making sure that you switch between them. And then I also tried new techniques like, when my kids pull out their clothes, it becomes, it comes out and then I have to fold it again. So to avoid that, I started putting rubber bands around it. So all of these temporary solutions were found, but I couldn't really get out of, the stress of running a house. And I'm sure a lot of young parents, a lot of new migrants into Australia would have experienced the same kind of feelings and pain that I had gone through. So I leaned on the knowledge that I had from almost a decade of minimalism. One thing that Suriji asked me to share during this presentation was what are the three lessons that you have learned, right, from being a minimalist? I think the first one was back in Singapore, when I was a minimalist and everybody around me was not, I started getting really angry with them because I expected them to have lesser things. I expected them to give us lesser number of gifts, lesser things to manage, and it didn't work because everybody was in a different agenda in their own life. So it will be unfair for me to expect them to convert to minimalism to see the light of how living with less number of things to manage can actually open your doors and enlighten you, and you can enjoy your life and all of that. No one believed me. They even made fun of me, or to be like to the extent that they felt that being a minimalist, you only have certain things. How many things do you have? They keep counting all of that. But when we came to Australia, I felt that these um, convictions that other people had about minimalism don't really apply, especially when a person starts handling their own clothes and when they start doing their own household chores. That is when the minimalism will follow. I got a real life example just the past week where I encourage my kids. They are about my elder one is going to be 9 this weekend, and then my younger one is about 7 years old. So I encouraged them to handle their own clothes. So initially they tried to fold it and put it in their drawers. It was a terrible failure. And then they said, okay, let me try a different way. And then they started to hang their clothes because that was easier for them to handle. And then when that also started failing, my son looked around and he was like, Dad, I think I want to become a minimalist and I want to own exactly 38 pieces of clothing. And he said, and I asked him, how do you know? And he said, because I looked at you and I looked at the amount of clothing that you have. I counted them. It came to 38. And I also know that you're never stressed about clothes. And, I've never seen you fold your clothes at all. So I also want to become a minimalist. So the next thing about minimalism for me was that Instagram has ruined minimalism because whenever people on Instagram say they are a minimalist, they portray this white color looking house with very less number of things. They show themselves as the people who actually sleep on a tatami Japanese mat, and then if there are guests in their house, they would just fold that mat and say, this is my new sofa, you can sit on that. And that is not minimalism. That is just people judging you for the amount of things that you had. It's just a competition of who has less number of things. And for me, I felt like I had to share with the world that the true essence of minimalism is actually on the more part, doing more of what you love, spending more time with your family, being present in the moment. That is minimalism for me. So, what I started to do was to educate people in my YouTube channel about being a practical minimalist, where I tell them, hey, I have two coffee filters. I think many of the South Indians here would actually recognize a coffee filter. I have two of those because by having an extra coffee filter, I can get 8 cups of coffee during my work week with just one extra minute of pouring hot water and coffee powder into it. Now, that for me saves about 18 minutes during my busy work schedule. So, that for me was the essence of minimalism, to find a house that actually functions for you and not to live in a house that's just photogenic. And the third main outcome from minimalism was that minimalism applies today. It applies to everyone of every age. Why? Because the level of capitalism and marketing that is going on right now has made everything addictive. Be it food, where you have too much sugar in everything and too much salt, and like fast food culture leads to a lot of health issues, which we are all very aware of, but even the awareness doesn't stop us from indulging in all of this because we think these are all simple pleasures of life, but they're not. And the next one is in terms of digital distractions as well. Like an average person of today spends about 4 to 6 hours on their phone looking at short form videos and looking at consuming content and getting those dopamine hits, which which actually affect their brain in the long run, which has made them compare their lives to everybody else, and it generally leads to polarity of thought as well as unhappiness. And for me, minimalism is the antidote because there is skyrocketing anxiety everywhere. There's social pressure. There's keeping up with the Jones, as they say. People want to compare themselves, and they feel like I should be going on a holiday next time. I should be spending my money, and it feels like a lot of things are out of whack in today's world. And there is a fundamental need for everybody to intentionally slow down, take a deep breath, and not be rushed. And I feel that it is more relevant today than any other time that I've lived in. And I'm sure anyone in this group, like if when we are meeting with each other and you have a couple of drinks, and then you think about, hey, chalo yaar, let's play some A.R. Rahman song, or let's play some Raja song, and let's go back to the 90s. And we all feel that within us, that we need to stop being so rushed. What are we going after? What are we chasing? And that for me was the epiphany. And that is when I thought that I had held the keys all along. Now I have the knowledge and the tools for me to cope with living in Australia, because I could redefine the Australian work life balance. I could figure out solutions that will help people to actually get over the decision fatigue of what to do next, what to cook next, um, who's going to do the laundry, how much of school work is still left. Do I have to submit some forms to the school? Do my kids have to wear, they're wearing purple tomorrow because of, they want to show solidarity to different communities. All of that remembering decision fatigue, I want to clear that out. And the ultimate goal for me was, I want there to be less clutter in your life. And the first thing that I want to start is on your household chores. And that is how I started the ZenRI framework. So for me, the inspiration was, I am an NRI, I want to be Zen, so I called it the ZenRI framework. And the ZenRI framework, coming from a minimalist, is actually paradoxical because it's based on more. And more is having the memory, which is knowing what is where in your house and not looking for it. Also knowing what to do after, in terms of the sequence of household chores that you undertake. It's the organization of having less chaos in your house, rethinking about the structure of how you interact with things so that your house works for you, not against you. And the third thing is routine, to reduce the recurring friction, and to have an infrastructure of how you lead your life so that you get more time back, so that you can do the enjoyment part, which is the very essence. Like, do you want to spend more time with your family? Do you want to run a pet project? Do you want to associate yourself with, better people? Do you want to have more friendships? All of that should happen. And that is my goal. And for that to happen, you should put in less effort on things like household chores, which almost 95% of us just endure. We don't enjoy, right? So less effort and more life. And a fundamental part of this is actually AI. And what I wanted to do was actually to leverage the AI to do most of the heavy lifting for me in this. And when I went and asked some of the audience what was their biggest source of stress in the household, it would always be, what do I cook next? Or what do I cook for dinner? Because that question literally freaks people out because they are not prepared. They are very busy with their work life. And then all of a sudden it's 5 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. and then your kids will be at home and they'll be hungry and they'll be making all the noise, and then you're thinking, oh my god, I have mouths to feed in my house. And to solve that, what I thought of was to leverage the techniques of bulk cooking on a Saturday, right? And to actually use the AI to figure out what is my routine on a Saturday and how can I optimize it so that I'm able to sandwich the entire week's cooking along with the entire week's upkeep of the house, all within 4 hours, so that I can have the rest of the weekend, which is the entire Sunday as well as Saturday evening back. And for me, AI is able to do that because AI is able to customize it to the level of a customer of one or a family of four, right? With their own personal preferences. What do the children eat? Which type of cuisine is acceptable? Who has allergy to cheese? And who is any customization. And Also to the level of as a family, what is our objective? Like, do we want to have more playtime in the sun? In like for me, whenever the sun is out, I want my kids to be playing outside rather than sitting and spending time on their television or their gaming consoles. So when we feed those objectives to the AI is going to customize and give your plan in such a way that it will identify which tasks can be done in parallel, which can be done in sequence, which tasks need to be addressed first, which ones can be combined with another task so that you're prepared for the entire week within those 4 hours. So for that to happen, there is a prerequisite, which is the AI should understand what is your current setup. And for that to happen, you need to have a let's take the example of cooking, and then you need to have a fridge that's not messy. You need to have lesser things to manage, and that's where minimalism comes in, right? So there is only so much technology can do for you, but there are also principles that you need to inculcate into your life in order for your life to actually become less messy, less chaos. So what are the three pillars of ZenRI? So for me, the first one, and for anyone that's watching this webinar, I think a good takeaway would be these three pillars, which is number one, single touch. It's a Japanese philosophy where they say that for you to take and use an item and then put it back, if you have to do multiple steps, then your system is broken. It has to be you can reimagine all the things in your house based on a single touch mentality, and suddenly everything in your house has a purpose, everything has a location, and everything is so intuitive. The more you're able to reduce these frictions, it will be easier for you to manage, and it will give you less pressure and anxiety inside your own house. And this can be applied to a work from home situation as well, right? So during work from home, most of us, we work from home probably once or twice a week. And what happens to our work desk during the other days? It's always cluttered with other things like toys, your children's notebooks. It could be pens, it could be trash, it can be anything, it can be mails. And instead of figuring out what to do with each of them, the single touch methodology is basically just having a basket underneath so that you can put everything, shove everything into that basket and close it, because that particular act of closing the basket and dealing with the clutter will give you much more peace than having them open. And it's a much quicker way for you to actually get into the work mode. And the second principle is actually Mottainai, which is one of our speakers last week. He spoke about karma, and it's a very uh, deep concept that Indians find it easy to understand. So when you think about your relationship with things, so for example, if you think about throwing a jar of jam into the trash because it expired, you're not instead of just saying, hey, I threw a $5 jam away and saying that $5 is the effort, you think about how much of effort and potential has gone waste because of this particular act. There might be a farmer who actually made that jam. He was toiling in the heat to actually get the strawberries. There was someone who was picking the strawberries. There was a factory that processed it. There were a lot of people working there. And then there was a lot of logistics involved, effort involved to get it to your Coles and Woolies. And then your own effort to choose this particular jar of jam versus the 100 other options that you would have had at that particular point of time, and your effort to actually bring it home and put it in the fridge for your family to have. So when you rethink of the effort that you've undergone for this event of having a strawberry jam to happen, the next time you throw it, there's a lot of guilt that associates with it. And then that shifts your thinking and perspective from a consumeristic, like I just looked at a product, I liked it, I took it, and then I forgot it. That kind of an attitude, it'll shift your thinking from that to the real life cycle of it. And it changes your relationship with things. And the third concept is actually Ma. Ma is an appreciation for an empty space. So in our culture and in most of the common knowledge, if there is an empty space, we feel that we have wasted it, right? If there is an empty space in front of your house, someone is giving you a suggestion that you should build a 1 BHK there and rent it out. If there is an empty space in probably your inside your house, someone is saying put a bookshelf there or put a showpiece there and cover it and then show it to the world that you're not, you're doing well and whatever. But the Japanese concept of Ma basically says that this negative space is a place for your eyes to rest. It's a place for you to breathe. It's a place for you to assimilate your thoughts and for your heart to slow down. And that's very deep, and it's also very useful because from a work from home perspective, if you're working from home, just having an empty wall in front of you instead of a bookshelf that's, even if it's perfectly arranged, what happens is whenever you look at the bookshelf, your brain will start registering different words that it catches, and that shifts your thought away from the work that you're doing. Whereas if you have an empty wall and you stare at it, it helps your brain to concentrate even more on the task in hand. And that brings out much more productivity in you. So how do I see ZenRI evolving? Um, so currently I have launched the product at version 1, which is basically teaching people the principles. I have also now moved into stage 2, which is basically I have the AI which I can share for anyone that wants to manage their house within 4 hours in the work week. I also have packaged and modularized this as an independent product that I can take to the market, saying it's 4 hour weekend uh, household management. And in the future, I feel like we could branch out into many aspects. One was, when my son wanted to do minimalism, I could subdivide that into another category and say, how do you teach your kids to be responsible and make better choices in life by starting in your household, right? How do you manage their own clothes and how do you become better at it? What are the small things that children can do to contribute to the upkeep of the house? That's something that we can teach as a subdivision, but you could also have many other subdivisions. Like if an if somebody moves into Australia, what do they have to do in the first couple of years in order to settle down? That can be submodularized also. And my end stage is actually customizing it and bringing it all into one platform so that we have all the um, information about a particular customer, and the customer can actually um, just ask the AI, what should I do next? And they can start comparing their current state of the house to the stage that they have discussed with the AI, and they have agreed that this is the state in which my house should be. So that's the utopian stage. Now, this for me is what I call as my ikigai, which is basically doing what I love, which is organizing and optimizing and finding that calm in the chaos, following my minimalism, to doing something that's combining it with what I'm good at, which is to find structures and to systematize it and to be that backbencher who thinks about, okay, if I can solve it for myself, how can I solve it for 100,000 others or millions of others? And then figuring out what does this world need, which is genuinely, I feel that there are a lot of young parents out there who are suffering from things like burnout, things like culturalization, and like cognitive overload, and then stress, pressure, whatever it is. And my goal is to make a difference in my own style, which is basically in a very quiet way, to help them to figure out how can they find more peace and make quick wins to have a more peaceful life. And what am I expecting from this community? To be very honest, I'm not expecting a lot of you to join the ZenRI framework, but I'm in the presence of a lot of elders here, and what I need or what I'm hoping I can get from you is how can I. This is my first entrepreneurial venture. This is the first time I'm developing all of this, and it's a steep learning curve, but I would like some help to figure out how can I package this into a B2B product for HR of various organizations to think of it as a benefit that they can offer to their employees in the realms of having better mental health, having the ability for recent migrants to manage some of the stress that they go through, like unspoken pressures of acculturalization, etc., etc. So how do I bring that to the market, and how do I do that? So that is the biggest ask from this group, if I can take that luxury. And that's the end of my talk here. But if anyone wants to discuss anything about any of these topics, I'm happy to share some of my experiences, and also to give any kind of tips you want in these topics.
Amazing presentation, Chandraji. Mind blowing. Like you've reset our thinking of minimalism, and this is going to take some, at least is one night sleep to absorb this, understand, sleep over this idea. You have reset our thinking. Highly appreciate it. I'll request Rajiv ji to ask your question.
Thank you. Yeah.
Look, I think you covered a topic that's dear to my heart, but I've failed repeatedly. So, but I'll first help you on the founder side because that's something that I agonize over a number of times. And it's something that I hear again and again, and that may come in handy for you. So, as a founder, when you're trying to take a product or offering to market, it is always about problem pull rather than solution push.
Yeah.
Because people's readiness to consider what you have to offer starts from where they currently are. So, so that's just my 2 cents worth on that because it's a big topic, you know. So, um,
Yeah.
so it just whatever you're offering, it just gets presented in a different set of lenses. So, um, with that, I think I have 4 bullet points. So each of them could be a question, but I could probably post them in the chat, which will be the quickest way to handle them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Uh,
you so much.
uh,
Yes.
no, that's the wrong one.
We know
uh,
your secret now. Peddle our secret. So while you're typing a question, Rajiv ji, in the chat, I'll pick it up quickly so that
yeah,
you can articulate a question better. And meanwhile, I can ask question from Vimal ji. So the question, Vimal ji, want to ask, or shall I read it for you?
You can read it, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Chandramouli Suresh, for excellent approach, thoughts, and presentation, and towards minimalism. And thanking to WeChat platform as well. So his question is around how do you or can we handle social pressure or gifts from family members who do not practice minimalism, even though in spite of conveying the message on invite as no boxed gifts, only blessings, another. So how do you handle that? That's question number one. And question number two is what does your digital life look like and how do you declutter your phone, inbox, and computer? These are two questions from Vimal Galoji.
Awesome. Awesome. These are very interesting conundrums to have, right? Because this was one of the giving gifts and receiving gifts is part of our culture. The even though we say no gifts and we tell people not to gift us, they would still do it because it gives them that happiness, and it gives them um, that feeling that they're doing something deeply personal, and they care very much about the thought that goes into gifting us, right? So instead of fighting them about it, the better way that um, I have handled it with my own self and with the gifts that I'm getting is giving the gift is the right of the person who is giving it, but what I want to do with the gift will be my right, right? So if I have a product which they have already given me, then it is an opportunity for me to either let go of the previous product that I had to make it new, enhance it with the new gift, or if I want, I can pass the gift along to a person who I feel the gift has a better value with it. So that would be the way that I would handle it. They often say in industries, right, one in, one out. So if there is a product that's a replacement, then you can give it. And also try it first, have it for a few days or months, or maybe you can have a 90-day window where you're keeping that item. And beyond that, if you feel that the item doesn't really contribute to my life, then you can very much look at either keeping it, or you can look at donating it, or you can sell it, or you can do whatever you want with it, because once it's coming to your hands, it is your property. So that was the first one with gifts. Of course, people will get offended, but at the same time, you also have to explain to them about why, or sometimes you might have to explain, and sometimes you just have to go with the flow that some people will not understand, and that's fine. And the second thing is, in terms of digital minimalism, I have tried a digital detox, which is basically not to have any kind of exposure to your phone and all of that. But the simplest way to handle it would be to make your phone unattractive. And the first thing that you could do, which can work today, is open your phone and find out how to make it black and white. So the minute you make it black and white, then everything that you see on the phone will become uninteresting for your brain. And when that happens, automatically your consumption of content will go down, because our eyes and our brain react to the colors first, and then only they decide whether or not I'm going to consume that content in the first place. So if you can take that out of the equation, you're doing yourself a big favor. And the second stage of it is, before you pick up your phone, tell yourself what is the purpose for picking up that phone. 90% of the time you won't have a purpose only. You would be picking up that phone, and then by the thumb habit, you would be navigating to your WhatsApp, you would be looking at BBC, and then you would be looking at Facebook, Instagram. You have this circle that you have to complete. Now, just like how Sachin Tendulkar, before he bats, he will shake his helmet, pull his guard, and do all of that. Everybody has that habit. So to break it, first tell what is your purpose of picking up that device. If you have no purpose, be truthful to yourself and put it back. Stage 3 is, try and put your phone in a different room. Stage 4 is, forget your phone. Try and forget your phone purposefully. Say that, Arey, bhul gaya, I didn't bring my phone today. When you go out for a walk, don't take your phone. And then slowly your fear of missing out, your separation anxiety, all of this will come down over time. So these are a few things that I've done with the phone, especially. And it's the same thing with our laptops. Like when we are working with our laptops, we keep our email open all the time. We are keeping our Slack and other communication devices open all the time. We have WhatsApp web open all the time. Close it and open it only once per hour. And in that 1 hour, you time block for 15 minutes. answer everything, and change the way that you answer so that you give that person a reason to do some work and then come back to you, rather than sending them an open ended what are your thoughts kind of email. You give them your thoughts and then you ask them to do some work and get back to you, so that your space between two emails will become larger, and you're sending a signal out to the world that your time is at a premium, and they will start respecting you for that.
Yep. Thank you so much. I think that's the biggest takeaway you've given in this presentation. The definition of minimalism is around reducing the chaos and clutter in your mind.
Yeah,
It's not true abstract term minimalism. It's reducing those clutter and chaos in your life and that anxiety and all.
yeah,
And so including that question of when even though we say no box gift and no anything and people still bring, so we've done our job, they still bring. We should not bring the chaos back to us
correct.
because of that, and we can just, yeah, they've done their duty and all. And that was very thoughtful. I'll ask questions from Rajiv ji. Rajiv ji, you want to ask your questions or shall I read it?
Look, I can quickly
Yeah.
talk to them. Look, there are things we sometimes balance. One is, abundance mindset versus minimalism. Like abundance generally means that you assume availability of resources rather than being constrained, and that also feeds into ambition versus minimalism. On one hand, you can say, look, I only want to do three things in my life or this quarter or this month, or I want to make room for six or eight things. And again, different people will be different on that. The other two are probably family related, which is, handling spousal disagreements and alternate food choices as children and adults grow further in life. So those are the topics that come up in my world.
Yeah. I don't have complete answers for all of it, Rajiv ji, because we are also figuring out how can we make some dishes which the entire family can have together. Because my daughter cannot handle the level of spice that I can. My son doesn't doesn't like South Indian food for some reason, so he has his own preferences. So we are still figuring that part out. Uh, at the same time, I have also reduced my spice intake in order to have the same food as my daughter. So prioritizing, having a meal together as more important than having the best food according to your own taste. That is something that I have trained myself. I've taken the hit for the family as a father. So that is one. In terms of abundance mindset and minimalism, it is very, very, it's a very valid point. And for me, minimalism goes beyond just being frugal and just being chindi and not buying stuff, right? For me, my my version of minimalism is okay, you figure out what makes sense in your house in terms of things, but figure out what do you want to achieve in life. That could mean different things for different people, but there is something that's constant for everyone, which is you have 24 hours, I have 24 hours, and that is time. So if you have a focus of this is what I want to achieve, you have to unlock that time for you to go and achieve that. And minimalism will help you to achieve that by prioritizing what is important versus everything else that is a distraction.
So
I think it was a,
indirectly,
yeah,
yeah. So indirectly, minimalism about maximizing your resources, whether it's time or it can be financial or it can be space.
yeah, depending on your end objective, like what is your end goal or what is the goal that you're going after.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
If I
this.
can if I can add one point there, if you permit. From your presentation today, Chandraji, I would say abundance mindset and the way you presented minimalism today, they are same thing. You are removing those clutter
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah,
thinking abundance for things which are really important in your life.
correct.
You should think abundance only for those things, meaningful things in your life. And your program, your framework is helping that abundance mindset to further get benefited out of it.
Yeah,
So I see it both of them as same, surprisingly, after listening to you today. Thank you.
That's very useful. Yeah.
thank you.
And I also liked just laughing in my mind when one touch theory you gave, action you gave.
Yeah,
And that's what men are usually good at. We want everything at arm's length, accessible and all. And wife like to put everything in the cupboard and away from visibility. But your solution to that, you put everything in a box and cover that lid. That was so thoughtful. I could relate the problem and the solution as well when you described. It was mind-boggling. Thank you again.
yeah. And if you think about it, your TV remote will always be on the left side of your sofa because your right hand, you're always having the phone, and most of us are right-handers. So we will keep the TV remote only on the left side. And even though there is a remote stand in the corner of your sofa, or it's there is a central table and there's 1 meter there, no one will stretch and do it. And that is how we are. So the one touch philosophy here says that if you have a space next to your left hand side, you put your remote there. It's a bit extreme, but like you can optimize it according to how you want to be, right? So for example, one of the biggest takeaways for me when I applied it was whenever I go out shopping, I keep forgetting my shopping bag because I used to keep my shopping bag in the laundry, and my laundry was not in the path that I take, the route that I take to exit the house. Like I run down and then I go through the alley, I wear my shoes, I go open the garage and I'm out. I don't touch the laundry. So if your shopping bag is there, then you're going to miss it all the time because you have to remember. Instead, you put it in your car boot itself in one corner, you will never forget it, and you don't have to pay that extra, 50 cents or $1 every single time you go shopping.
I'm sold with your idea. Thank you. Ravi.
Hi, Chandramouli. What a
Hi.
beautiful presentation. I am very intrigued because I do more or less follows a lot of these principles because they're practical, they're functional, and they're efficient, and they add optimization to your life. My biggest constraint here in doing the best of I can is my partner because she is too focused on aesthetics. Even if I say, look, I want to keep this because this is more convenient, now it doesn't look nice, and it's been such a big battle for her to be able to be on the same page. For her, things are very different, and this tussle, for her to explain,
Yeah.
the way I see things. But she probably is guided by standards that other people would measure what nice looks like, and maybe she has that social pressure as well, that it should be meeting those expectations as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the strategies and ideas you think I can use to put my case forward in a way wherein it's more receptive?
I think
And hope.
the number one thing for me is you can't win an argument with your wife. The number two thing is the number two thing is that minimalism is a very personal journey, right? So if you can identify one space within your house where you can be as minimal as you want, like you can knock yourself out with how much ever extreme minimalism you want, but you define that space as yours. For me, it's my workroom, right?
Mm,
Around my workroom, no one will touch it. I have told my kids, I have told my wife that I want it in a certain structure that gives me the peace. and I'm going to spend almost 8 hours in my workroom. So then it is a preparation for me to go to the rest of the house, because I'm like this person who, if I see an Indian thali, I get overwhelmed because there are too many items. I don't know what to touch. So for me, this is my safe haven, and I would say it's better for you to create your safe haven than to go offensive and get others to convert. It's easier to get the kids also to convert. That is something that I've also found out, because they don't have this predefined baggage of how things should be, how should everything look. They are a bit more flexible and open, and they can learn from example. But at the same time, look, it's a conversation that you can have, but I'm not sure whether you can win it. Good luck to you on that.
So I've actually used my office as that area that you said is,
Exactly.
that I
Yeah.
can control more. So when I go to office, everything is, the
Yeah.
way I have tried to keep them easy as well. I especially, one of the things that I've recently implemented is the clothes that I wear. Okay, so only like I have these t-shirts that I have, and I'm very comfortable that, look, yep, I just don't need any other brand. Like, this very simple thing works, and they're all
Yeah.
in different color. I don't need different. So I'm trying to simplify things in that area as well.
Yeah, it
But
really
yeah.
helps. Like, if you think about it, Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, they have like a uniform and they
Mm,
look amazing in it. So if
mm.
you can find your own uniform and you want to stay in it, then it's going to release a lot of cognitive load early in the morning, right? What do I
Mm,
wear? That is
mm.
one of the biggest dilemma. So
Yeah,
you can eliminate that also.
yeah. And then there's a lot of clutter as well, which I personally feel like it's no purpose. But my wife wants to store everything. One day it will be useful. I don't know what that day will be. That day has never arrived,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the clutter keeps building up. So that, I think we saw one documentary as well on Netflix where they spoke about getting rid of clutter as well. Uh,
Yeah.
so that is another one as well. Like, there's an
Yeah.
opportunity to get rid of a lot of things that is
Yeah.
no adding no value.
I
Yeah,
think the
definitely.
ZenRI framework, sorry, Suriji, just one point was, one of the important things of ZenRI framework is figure out your main zones in the house that you navigate. So long as you can move the clutter somewhere else, your level of stress will go down. You don't have to throw the things out and offend people around you.
Mm.
Just move them, restructure them in a different place. That can really help you, at least the 80-20 of where you're moving, right? The 80% of where you're moving, you're not stressed.
Very thoughtful. Very thoughtful. Thank you. Conscious of time, Kalpesh ji, you can ask a question. Thank
Yeah,
you.
quickly. Firstly, before I go for question, I just wanted to share something about the gifts. So 4 years back, Diwali, during Diwali, we used to share gifts, and it became very ridiculous. First, I said, okay, we were giving gifts, and it went to a state where it became like people started giving silver and something like that. And then we said, okay, fine, from our side we'll at least give only dry fruits or something. But then what happens, 3 years back, I had to I got kaju katli and all that, and I had to throw that kaju katli because I couldn't give to all. I like taken like 15 kgs or something. Then I realized what we're trying to do. So what last year what we did was, in our group, what we at 6 months back, 6 months earlier before Diwali, we said that at least I told to my group that I am neither giving or not taking gifts, and I'm more than happy for you guys to share within yourself. But as from my family, we'll do Rama Sama, which we respect, but we'll not give or take gifts. And surprisingly, it was like at least 5 people of them still wanted to give gifts, and I was happy for them to sort of do that. But what helped is that 10 people followed, and the conversation became it was early, it was awkward, but now it's okay because 2 years now. So just wanted to share that if you give well in advance, people are receptive, and few people can take it and few people might not. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same with picking your phone also. Like if you put your phone on silent and miss calls like 60% of the time, then people will expect you to miss calls most of the time. And
Mm.
then your whole usage of your phone will also go down.
Yeah, and like what I wanted to check was how what your 4 hours look like. You touched on it, but like I was just trying to check like how does it help in your like a weekday? Like one thing is food, but generally your chores, you have washing, you have
Yeah.
dishes, you have cleaning, you have pickup, drops, you name it, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the way that the AI structured it for me was it asked me first, what do you do on a Saturday? And I said, I take my son out for basketball while my wife takes my daughter out for, like the local cafe or something. And then it said, you it's good for you that you're going in two different directions, but at least one of you take the grocery on your own, right? And if you eliminate that bit of getting your grocery done during those 2 hours, like your wife can get your grocery, then you don't have to go to the mall after that as a family. If you go to the mall as a family, then automatically the children will be hungry, you have to spend for that, and it takes like 4 hours out from that. So it tells you where all you can do parallel tasks. It also tells you that
Mhm.
when you're doing your cooking, there might be gaps, natural gaps that arise. You can turn on your laundry at that time. It can also tell you, instead of doing your laundry 3 times during the week, just bundle them all together, go to the laundromat, and you might find a better purchase. It's all dependent on the AI to actually, and the inputs that you give to the AI, that this is the distance logistically from my house to the nearest laundromat. And if that distance makes sense, then it might suggest you to go to the laundromat, or it might just say figure it out within your house itself. And it can also give you tips of how to use your oven more purposefully, because in some families they don't even know how to operate it, it's just there, right? So it really depends on family to family, but it will tell you what are all the things that you could do sequentially and parallelly.
Yeah.
Thanks.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर संतोष जी, आपके कुछ क्लोजिंग कमेंट्स। आप म्यूट पे हैं, आप म्यूट पे हैं सर, आप म्यूट पे हैं सर, आप म्यूट पे हैं।
How this concept goes well with the businessman when you are pleading people not to buy unnecessary things. How
Yeah.
the business concept is when they say put something on sale 30%, 40%, some ladies buy very happily that I have saved 30%. Husband usually say you have spent 70%. There was no need to buy that thing.
Correct.
So how people will go with that sort of thing, and how it will be welcomed by the business class of people.
Yeah, for me, it's all about the reduction of pressure, the elimination of, and finding time. Basically, I want to promise people that if they embrace this methodology and this framework, they will be able to have less pressure in their life and find the time for the things that matter.
And my clothes have increased because fashion keep on changing. That the size of the pant that used to be big and then narrowed it down, and some old clothes are still hanging.
Yes.
Put them somewhere.
Yeah.
Put them somewhere in the bin.
You could choose to bin them, or you could choose to recycle them. One of the things that the chat AI has is you could upload a picture and then it can tell you how frequently you are using it. So if you're not using things regularly, you can also move it out of a zone that doesn't give you that sense of guilt or the sense of I'm wasting my money and feeling that pressure.
Yeah, I like that thought
Yeah.
that you can instantly remove that clutter from your life to de-stress yourself first, and then you
Yes,
with that flexibility of less anxiety and stress in your life, you can figure out what to do with it. So that's a
yes,
benefit.
yeah.
Uh, and anything else, Santoshji, before I can wrap up?
No, thank you, but I was just taken back that for our own work also we want to ask artificial intelligence.
Definitely. Yeah.
Do, do we need to ask this type of questions to the artificial intelligence?
Uh, my answer to that is the whole purpose of this is to actually reduce the amount of intelligence that is already there in our mind to the AI so that we don't have to redo all the decisions again. So, for example, we know exactly how much of uh, groceries that we have to buy every single week, but we still open the fridge and then we still figure out how many potatoes are there, how many tomatoes are there, and then we draw up the entire list. Instead, if we just take a photo of the fridge and the AI tells us everything, and it also is connected to your local goals or something, you can make it happen in much shorter time. And that is something that in this world where people are rushed for time, they can find it. They will appreciate that amount of time saved and the thinking that they are saved, especially after they have a very long work day and they are brain fried. It really helps to have someone else making all of these decisions and giving it to you on a plate.
Thank you. It was a very much different thing for me. Never thought about it.
Yeah. And really loved a lot of trigger points, Chandramouli ji, tonight. And one thing, if you can shed light, as a last minute thing, is around your backbencher mindset. What is that? What is that input there into this framework? Where do you bring that mindset here?
So let me give you an example. So I actually, in order to build this program, I literally cleaned my entire house and I documented all the thoughts that I will go through in order to do that. And it took me almost 4 or 5 days to finish one room. And I thought, what are all the things that delayed the entire process? Like life came in the way, I had to take some work calls. Also, there was this dilly dallying of who gave me this gift, what do I do with it? And then how did I even get these karate clothes? When did I do it? Should I gift it? Should I buy it? All of that, right? And then I thought, okay, let's have some perspective and let's figure out how can someone else do it in 15 minutes, because they won't have 4 hours. If I tell them that it'll take you 4 days to clean your house, everybody's going to quit the course and go. So that was my thinking of how can I get a person to do it within 15 minutes. Let the AI tell you that these are three subtle changes that you can make. You don't have to clean your entire house in one day. You don't have to clean your entire room also. You don't have to clean your kitchen also. You just have to make one small change, but that change should be long lasting. Like for the next 6 months, you should not regret that change. And when that happens, you're automatically making incremental benefits. You're getting incremental benefits from that process. And slowly you're thinking of one touch. You're thinking of, does this does this thing actually contribute to my life right now? For example, my in-laws, when they come here, they use a wet grinder. But me and my wife, we don't get a wet grinder and we don't use it. It need not sit in my kitchen. I can always take it back and bring it back when my in-laws are there. So do I need an AI to tell that? No. But I have to have that principles of differentiating between what is acceptable and what have I gotten used to versus does it really add value in my current 80% of time that I'm spending in my house. So that is the backbencher mentality.
Thank you for clarifying that. And Vimalji have joined back. Any question you want to ask, Vimalji? Last question before we wrap up tonight.
No, all good, sir. It is a very wonderful, excellent presentation. I really liked it. Thank you very much.
So
Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
you, Chandramouli ji. You have given a completely different, fresh perspective on minimalism. And minimalism is not about reducing things in your life, it's about reducing that clutter and chaos around it and making more effective use of your time for better things in life. And I've learned a lot of different terminology. I really liked your one touch action thing, and with new revived understanding, I'll take it fresh perspective rather than creating chaos, further chaos, but how to leverage that one touch approach to reduce that clutter. And I really liked your example of shopping bag, for example. If it is in laundry room, which is usually in the very back, and you end up buying new bags every single time. So those small things, you can apply this framework in all different perspective, including your digital life and family life and your room and everything. And I'm really going to give very deep thought on this framework. Thank you very much for sharing this with us, with the community, and we wish you all the best for your program and launch of your entrepreneur. Definitely, individually, we'll reach out to you, give feedback as you desired in your second last slide. Also, I want to share what you shared with us during of the record session, that we are going to invite Chandramouli ji again in coming week or two to share how to launch your own YouTube channel or something, because he has created big fan following already on his own channels, and he comes from that media industry, the advertisement and all, and that is a very key skill one should learn if they are willing to share. Many of us in this call are keen on that element already, Chandramouli ji, and it's a wider community need as well. So we'll definitely look forward to hear from you on that topic and any other future topic you want to cover, and we wish you all the best through this forum.
Sure,
Thank you once
sure. Thank
again
you so
for
much. I want to thank the audience as well. It was a really interactive and, like it was really nice to share the thoughts with the team as well.
Yeah. With that note, thank you everyone for staying back 17 minutes late, but we thoroughly enjoyed your session tonight. Thank you. Good night. Namaste all.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.